You're listening to the Spiritual Highways Podcast with Leanne and Michelle.
Hello.
Hey, ma'am. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well. I am doing good.
So we've had a fun couple of weeks that we haven't been able to talk about because we were talking about other things.
Right.
So I'm going to start with Leanne sends me some random paperwork via email.
I don't even think we spoke.
No, we didn't speak.
I just said,
you didn't speak to me at all. And you just sent me a vendor package with a form to fill out for a spiritual and healing fair in October. Mm-hmm. And so being the wife that I am, the handler,
yeah,
I went ahead and registered us.
She not only registered us, she sent me, she's like, we've got to do promo pics on this day. It's already scheduled. Then I've already got us a booth and a table, and here's how it's going to work. We need to work on our merchandise.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I sent that to you yesterday. Okay?
Yeah, but I don't play around.
I know, and I probably got it 2 days before then. And Kim, if you're listening, just so you know, I am going to call you back because I've not called her back yet either.
Well, we have a table, Kim, so thank you.
So thank you. But yeah, so she's like on the ball with that.
Well, okay, so I'm like all proud of myself because I'm like, oh yes, I've registered us. There was a table available. This is so exciting. And then the email comes. We're going to need headshots. And I'm like,
What? What does that mean? Where are these headshots going?
So, of course, I just love being in the spotlight. So you can imagine how much I love being in front of a camera. Not at all. And luckily, we have Ashley Rebecca Photography, who was so much fun. She was a doll and so much fun. We had a great day. And we've been posting random pics on our pages.
Oh, and look,
sharing our shenanigans from that day because it was funny. But so now we're official with our headshots, and we have to get our bios written and turned in. But it's going to be October 6th.
Mm-hmm. From 10 to 6.
10 to 6 at the Holiday Inn on Airline. Mm-hmm. And it's a spiritual and healing fair. So it should be really cool. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to doing it and meeting people.
Right. I think once we get closer, we'll find out who else is doing it.
Yeah, more details about all the vendors that are there.
Right.
And it's open to the public from 10 to 6.
Right. So we hope that everybody can come out.
I know.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
I think so, too.
We still haven't floated.
I know. It's hard to... It's really been kind of crazy couple weeks coming up, but we've got to get it scheduled, and there's a lot of different choices too.
I mean, there's you can have the time periods. I don't think you need to be in there more than an hour. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But then they have the dry salt, which is good for more than just breathing, which I didn't realize because I didn't really research that much into it before I just jumped in that tank last time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah,
eventually.
we haven't forgotten about it.
No, we haven't. We just
absolutely.
Life.
Yeah. Yeah, there's life. There's life that kicks in. You know what? I went to someone's house randomly this weekend and gave a message to them, and I really don't do that anymore since I've got my office, thanks to Michelle. But I didn't have my notebook, a paper, pencil, or my fidget spinner, or things that I typically carry around.
You need an arsenal of them, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I would love in my office, have a drawer that you open up and little angels they come floating down. It's lights on it, and I can pick my fidget spinner.
See which one lights up when you...
Yeah, which one am I going to use today? Because this person that I didn't have anything, right? I didn't have any of my things with me. And I'm like, do you have a paper and pencil or a fidget spinner? And believe it or not, she had a fidget spinner. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. It was the smoothest little thing. I'm like, oh, it would, well, and let me explain. It really helps me when I'm giving a message because it takes Leanne, it gives Leanne something to do while
your message is coming through.
Right. Yeah. So I don't get distracted. Well, yeah. And so
it's kind of like letting you play in the sandbox while
the grown-ups are talking.
Yeah. Grown-ups are talking. That's awesome.
Yeah. Leanne, go play in the sand. Yeah. I fidget spin while the grown-ups are talking. That's pretty much what it's like. But it's true. So, but I mean, I never realized, because your son, Ian was so gracious, generous to give me my fidget spinner that looks like
it looks like the Hollywood Squares. Actually,
it does. We'll have
Do you
to
remember
take a
that
picture.
show? You wouldn't remember that show.
I remember.
Thank you for playing along.
No, I actually do. I think because there's a rendition of it.
Oh, maybe
they've like updated it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So. Circle
Yeah.
your wagons around that thing. And let me tell you, her aunt came in the other day, and it must be something in their family, because that is the only person in the world that I've ever heard.
Circle your...
Yeah,
it's not just my family. It's just we're older than you, and we know things.
I think this little circle your wagons things has at least been 10 weeks going, on 10 weeks. But anyway,
but
she said it.
You've been using it lately.
She said it like randomly, and I'm like, oh, what did you just say?
And I was like, see, it's a thing. I told you it was a thing.
Yeah. We totally got off kilter, poor thing. She was like, what do you mean? What did I say? I don't know what I said. I'm like, yeah, you and your wagons. Uh-huh. So, anyways, that's about it. So, yeah, I'm going to have an arsenal of fidget spinners here soon.
That's your goal?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, when my
be on
son...
the lookout for good ones.
Yeah. Well, when my son was into them, he had a million of them, and they were nice, and now they've been dismantled, and they're non-existent anymore. So at least now it's at the rush for them is over. So I could probably get some like pretty inexpensive. So.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it'd be like a collector's item.
The phase, the fidget spinner craze has worn down. So
absolutely,
you could probably take your pick.
Absolutely. Yep.
Good deal. Well, so other than fidget spinners and circling wagons, oh, wait a minute. You were telling me a story about John Wayne.
Oh, my dad. Sorry, Dad.
I mean, if we're going to talk about circle your wagons, we got to talk about...
This is true. Okay, this is our ode to John Wayne. So my dad is like dropping me off this morning, and we're like bonding, hanging out. And he... randomly and out of nowhere just looks at me and he says, hey, did you know John Wayne has little feet? Crickets, radio silence. Just like, I'm like, no, actually I didn't. I've actually never thought about John Wayne's feet at all, at all.
So he did not have a good understanding, according to your father's lingo.
Absolutely. I love that. I wish I knew how to do that drum thing, Yeah, that's it. Something like that. But, so I'm like, he's like, yeah, that's why he kind of tip over and fall over. And then
again, another question, like, I did not know he was a tipper. Didn't know he fell over. Didn't know that was a problem. Maybe that's why he was always on a horse.
No, right.
Just put him on a horse.
Yep. Thank God for Trigger. I think his name is Trigger.
I think that's Lone Ranger. I don't know. I don't know the names of horses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that. But I just had to throw that out there.
That's hilarious. I just thought that was funny because I was like,
it's just
really
very
random information.
I didn't have the energy that early in the morning to ask him where this information
came from.
Like to
explore it a little bit.
No, maybe I'll explore it later.
You have to circle your wagons back and do that one. Circle back around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
get to the heart of it. Yeah. See where that was coming from.
Absolutely. You're too funny. Well, so I think we had talked about you wanted to explore something, a topic that you have helped me with tremendously.
Boundaries.
Yeah. I don't have many of those.
I know we've discussed it before. We have. We've talked about boundaries and the importance of them. And, but it keeps coming up. And it keeps coming up for you, for clients. Like, for me, it's a consistent theme. And so I think it's really important for everybody to not be afraid. So something I had written down earlier in the week when it just popped in my head. It was boundary. Defining them can be uncomfortable, but creating them can be freeing.
That's very true. That is very true. And, it just kind of popped into my head, too. Like, that can be said for even doing tasks, not just with other people. But, like, when you kind of get to where you're doing things for other people, and then when it comes to fulfilling those things for yourself, it feels different. So I guess that's, in a way, setting boundaries. Like, what am I going to allow? What am I doing for me versus what am I doing for others?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense without sounding ugly?
No. Because, everything you do, you need to do for yourself. It's not to do for others.
Well, yeah, that sounds terrible.
No, it doesn't sound terrible at all. That's the whole point, is you do the things you do because you want to do them, and you know that in doing them, you're going to be fulfilled. It might be something, it might look different than the way whoever has an expectation of you expects you to do it. Just kind of like, for example, I'm letting my kids unload and reload the dishwasher. Okay, OCD Michelle is freaking out on the inside because
that is true.
I know it is not all lined up. Like earlier, I couldn't even let the poor Walmart guy put the groceries in the trunk because they had to go in a certain way. But I'm really trying to let them do stuff. And so I'm backing off and letting them do it, not the way I expect it to be done. Now, I expect them to do it, but I'm backing off on how they get it done.
Oh, that's hard.
It is hard.
It is very hard.
It is hard. And so, but luckily I'm tired. I have 3 kids, so I'm tired most of the time. And it's easy for me to just back off a little. I think if I just had 1 or 2, maybe I'd be less tired. And so I'd be more insert myself in the proper way to do things. But I'm letting them figure it out. Now, we've had a few loads.
So would the boundary be like, I'm going to allow you to like unload or load the dishwasher in this amount of time, but this is the time, like a set time frame, maybe? Is that
a set time frame? But I'm not going to stand over you and make sure that you load it properly.
Okay.
Like that you put things where I would put them.
okay?
Like now, obviously, like don't put plastic stuff on the bottom and things like that. But I went over that. So yeah, we've had a few mishaps. We've had a few loads that didn't get actually clean and we had to rerun them. But in the grand scheme of things, my boundary is I have an expectation, but I'm leaving it at the task, not at how you get the task accomplished.
Okay. That because I was trying to figure out where the boundary part was coming in.
The boundary comes from not overstepping the boundary.
Okay.
On my part.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, and I know Michelle, and I think that we maybe talked about this the last time, or we discussed boundaries, was Michelle really helped me in setting boundaries for Spirit because, it was nothing for me to spend, 2 or 3 hours giving one message.
Right.
Which was
and then
pretty
you're
self-depleted.
It is very depleting.
Which typically is not, but anytime.
But energetically.
Yeah, but for me to play in the sandbox for that long while grown-ups are talking,
Yeah.
that's a long time.
That's a long time.
And so Michelle really helped empower me in the sense that, and that did empower me to say, okay, this is where I'm at. This is, you need to, Spirit, you need to come in and I'll be happy to do your work and to do my work, I should say, in sharing these messages, but I need you to kind of cut the cliff notes.
Yeah.
And speed the process.
Get to the point.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But that was very empowering for me. And even in having this office, like having my office now has really, and thanks to you, because it's like, okay, now I have a space that I can have people come to versus me going into other people's areas. So I just feel safer.
Yeah.
Even my chair.
Not that you were ever unsafe, but you have your...
I'm talking about Spirit, like energetically.
Yeah. But also
grounded.
in setting boundaries, you take ownership of your role in a situation.
Right.
Just like, you're doing this work and you getting involved and going, okay, this is what I'm willing to do. You took ownership in that and saying, okay, I am playing a part in this and I will do so, but I have to set some boundaries.
But
and I think that can be in a lot of situations.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just now thinking too, like going back and when I was younger, it's like that's a lesson that ends up being what I find the people that have more boundaries or the ones who usually have more self-confidence. Because it's like I'm confident in myself enough to not waver in what I'm willing to sacrifice or what I'm willing to do or not do in certain situations. I'm self-confident enough to set that tone.
And they might come across as people that don't say yes a lot, but it's because they know what they're capable of. So you might hear them saying, well, no, I can do this, but I can't do this, or I can help here, but I can't help here. And then you have people that are like, yeah, I can totally do that. I can totally do that. But then they don't do it.
Yeah.
Because they think they can do it. And so they overpromise themselves, but then they can't deliver on it all because you only have so many hours in the day.
Right.
So if you set the boundaries early on, and then you're not having to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and then you have to apologize because you didn't deliver.
You were so right.
And so you have to set the boundaries just to maintain a sense of sanity and not overpromise and underdeliver.
Right.
It's better to underpromise and overdeliver.
But but growing up and from my own experience, that doesn't, like, I want to make somebody happy.
Right. You want to please them.
Yeah. And so it's really that's been a lesson for me within the past 2 years you
can please people. It just doesn't have to come at a cost to yourself.
Right. Well, I mean, but that's just it. Because my instant instinct, if you ask me to do something, I'm going to, it's harder. I have to it takes a lot of effort for me to tell you no.
Right.
But that's something I am working on.
Right.
And I've gotten a lot better at it. But it is something that I'm totally
guilty
of.
And the answer sometimes doesn't have to be no. It could be not today.
I'm going to get back with you.
Right. Or, not at this time.
I'm going to sleep on that. Can we discuss this in the morning?
Yes. Actually, yeah. Go back to that. Yep. But I mean, it's a matter of just being realistic and giving yourself some space to breathe.
But that comes with also, like I said, self-confidence.
Right.
And building your...
But once you do it once and you see that the world doesn't hate you because you drew a boundary,
then
you're like, oh I can do this. Yeah, right. Absolutely.
I think that's a brilliant message. I think that's great.
Well, it's just something that came up and... I just felt like it was important. Like if it comes up and I write it down, because I don't write anything down, you know me.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait, what did we talk about? I don't remember. And so, but I did write that down. And so I felt like it was important to share.
I'm glad that you did. Well, one thing that Spirits had me mention, I guess, over the past week, they really are pretty good about having a theme. But... but it was pretty profound whenever you notice it, because
I did notice it.
But it's getting to the yolk of the problem. She's like, you have referenced an egg several times, and I'm like, I know, but it's kind of the theme for the week. And so
anytime you come out and because we don't talk about your readings, but anytime you come out and you have like a saying, getting,
as a matter of fact,
getting to the yolk, and I'm like, wait, what? You were like, oh, it's just been coming up a lot, and I'm like, well, okay.
Well, they've referred to the
that's not your verbiage.
No, not at all. Well, as a matter of fact, in the person whose message that I gave, they'll recognize it, because I even said, okay, I like the way that Spirit used this, so if you don't mind, I'll be using this for the podcast. And so she said, oh, sure, that's fine. So I do have permission. But anyways, it translated to mean a couple of different things. First of all, let me go the basic anatomy of the egg, which I learned something about that too, is you've got your yolk, which is the yellow part. And I did learn if you boil an egg too long, the yolk does turn brown. So just so you know.
Yuck.
I'm going to throw that little tidbit. That's the only thing I know how to do really well in the kitchen is I can boil a mean egg. Okay. Anyway. But
a mean brown egg.
No, mine are never brown, only bright yellow. They're like the sun. Anyways, so we've got the yolk. The white part isn't called the white part. It's actually called a glaze. A glare. Sorry, a glare. And then you've got your shell. So you've got your shell, your glare, your yolk. Well, the way Spirit has explained things is the yolk is being your soul or your spirit. The white or the glaze is your protection of the soul and spirit, or also the ego, is where the ego is. And then you've got your shell, which is also your protection of ego. So how does this translate into life? A couple of scenarios that they used this in was there was a couple, and they were an adult married couple, and the father, the wife's father and mother really disapproved very much of the relationship that the two had. It looked very one-sided from them. One maybe didn't make the best choices, but they couldn't understand why, what their daughter, I guess, saw in this person. And there was a big struggle for many years, and it led to, family animosity and all kinds of different things. But what came of it is after the mother and father passed, their soul came through, and that was the first thing out of the gate was, I need to clear this up, is I want you to know that I stand behind your relationship. And she was kind of blown away in the sense that, wait, that doesn't make sense to me, because that was not their relationship. She did not, neither one of them agreed with them, what that dynamic looked like. But Spirit was very clear in saying, no, we see it now. And that was kind of the general theme. But what it broke down to is there are certain people that you see, that you're connected with, that you see their yoke. You see way beyond their glare. You see deep into past their shell, and you see the yoke. Most people would see just their glare, but you know them. And sometimes the person isn't even aware of their own yoke, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But Spirit's message was get to the yoke of the problem. So when you're looking at those different dynamics, although it may seem very peculiar to you and there'll be a lot of judgment there, to step away from it and say, okay, am I looking at their yoke? And this is what's clouding everybody's view of our relationship, or whatever it is. And it could be with a friend, it could be with a loved one, it could be with anybody. But that's really what we should try to see within everybody, is getting to the yoke. So when you have family issues, or not just family, but when you're having issues with especially another person, it's really looking deep and asking them, okay, what am I perceiving? What is my ego, or that personification of who I am versus who I really am? Because that is a hard thing to do, is looking into your yoke and figuring out who that is.
Yeah, right.
But be kind in the sense that when you see somebody and you don't understand the dynamic that they may have with another person, instead of jumping to protect them, look beyond they obviously see something deeper. And that's when they can let their guard down. Now, I'm not saying let somebody be taken advantage of, but anyways, I hope that if that makes sense.
I mean, because I think a lot of people get caught up in their ego, or so how they appear to the world,
mm-hmm.
or in roles like I'm, whatever they, if they're I don't know, a super athlete, or if they're
or tough, like put up a tough experience.
Facade.
Yeah.
And so, you get caught up in how others see you. And this is from a self standpoint, and don't ever take the time. How do you see you?
Well, it's interesting the way you said it. I don't know why it just popped into my head, but like, I think that a lot of times some of the behaviors that you have for over all this time, really, when you get down to it, really isn't who you are. It's what you've used as your defense mechanism to hide who you are.
That's so true.
It's like, okay, am I really this crazy person, or is that just so that I don't have to
show be vulnerable? Well, it's vulnerable.
Be vulnerable, right?
It's vulnerable to look at who you are on the inside,
right,
and let other people see that.
But see, you get so used to it that it's like,
sure,
okay, well, that's who I am. No, that's not really who I am.
Right.
That's what I show you.
And also in that same thought is, are you seeing yourself how others see you? Are you seeing yourself through someone else's eyes?
Well, that brings me to another point.
Okay.
Is the other day, I thought this really, it kind of broke my heart, to be honest. I was in TJ Maxx, and I loathe shopping. I am not that girl. And so I'm like walking into the dressing room reluctantly, and anyways, and I see, and while I'm getting, the lady having to count the articles or clothing, whatever, and I see this conversation happening with this couple, and this woman comes out, and she's wearing a really pretty dress that was fitted, and her husband is sitting kind of like, I don't know, 10, 12 feet away from her, and he lit up when he saw her in the dress. Okay, and it was it was fitting, but it really looked good. But I could see, I guess I see things too that other people don't, but I could see her insecurity around it. But really and truly, she looked fabulous, and it looked really nice on her. Well, the first thing I noticed she said was, "Oh, I'm going to have to get a bigger size," and he just was like, he looked at her like, "What?" And so I just at that point just kind of start watching, and he said, "Oh no," and she just instantly like gets this like exhausted look on her face, and she's like, "Yes, I do." And he looks at her and he's like, but it, and then his whole body just sulks down, and she looks at him and she's like, "No, I've got no," and she storms off into the dressing room. She was broken. And I get where she's coming from. I've been there, done that. I get it. But this man, that's what got me. He got up. He looked like he was going to cry. It broke my heart. And it was the most defeated look, going from seeing this man light up to seeing her, how beautiful that she was to him.
And she missed that whole transaction.
Oh, completely. Like, it was gone. She did not see it. And I watched him going from like just chilling to, wow.
Look at my wife.
Yeah. To, she just doesn't see it. And it took everything in my body.
That makes me want to cry a little.
Look, it took everything in my soul. Everything not to go tell this man, "I'm so sorry," and tell this woman, "Do you know what just happened?" But I didn't. I minded my own business. But he walked away. And he shook his head, and it just made me think, you always have these people that say, oh, you see all these flaws in yourself and all these things that you, and then you point them out, and they're like, "I don't see that." You know what? They really don't see it. They really don't see it. Like other people don't see the flaws that you have. But when somebody tells you, you really, there are people that's going to tell you things you want to hear. That comes without.
Sure.
I'm not one of those people, by the way. Just not. But seriously, it really made me think, wow, I really should take more stock in when people tell you
give you a compliment.
Not only give you, but
Yeah.
Honestly, but it made me so sad that she missed out on that opportunity.
I'm sad for her long term, because if she could just see herself how he sees her,
oh yeah,
what a gift that would be.
There's a lot of people that...
I'm going to pray that for her. I don't know who you are, lady, at TJ Maxx.
Me too.
I hope that you will see that.
I mean, she would have done better buying that than any lingerie ever, because he just lit up. It was beautiful to see.
That is so sweet.
But yeah, I mean, I would say if we could, try to take that opportunity to see, like you said, what other people see in you, and really really think about it, because...
Well, and here's the filter. See what other people see in you, the positives.
Yeah, that's true.
Not the negatives.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to see now, if it's constructive criticism, there's always room for growth. If somebody's like, hey, if you could work on this, but if they're coming at you with something, like, no, you don't own that. That's their problem.
Right.
But really...
I'm talking about people who love you.
Yes. No, people who love you and want to see you grow and truly have an active... role in your growth. Mm-hmm. And he seemed to really want to share that with her, and I'm sad for both of them.
Me too. I really wanted to go knock on that. But we're talking about boundaries, so
right.
I did exercise my boundaries. Okay, not going to knock on the dressing room door, ma'am. Yeah,
excuse me.
Yeah, I didn't have Michelle there to put a bow on it for me, so I figured it was probably safe not to do that. So
no, but I think that's always healthy, and I think people struggle accepting compliments, and I think people. And then beat themselves up with the criticism. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I had a client this week. She was beating herself up for something that went wrong at work. And I said, okay, well, could this happen? She was like, I just have to remember to not let it happen again. And I said, well, and it was a situation. It wasn't like, she broke a rule or something. It was a situation that came up at work. And I'm like, okay, but is it realistic to think that this will never happen again? And she goes, well, no, it could happen. And I said, well, so maybe you should have a plan B for when that happens.
Oh, that's
so
good
all
idea.
the people in place know, okay, when this happens, we have a plan B. And she was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, for me, that's like common sense, because I'm not in it.
Right.
It's easy for me to see the common answer. The
but
common
that's what
sense
you do.
answer. Well, okay, it's what I do. So, but in this moment, that's really good to go, okay, in this situation, maybe we need a backup plan. Mm-hmm. Because, things aren't always going to go smoothly. Plan A is not always going to take off.
Right.
So we should have a plan B. And I think that's good for a lot of areas of your life. But in situations, whenever you want to beat yourself up, think, is there another way to handle this? So if this comes up again, I've got a backup plan.
Right. Maybe you need like an index card box of like, we'll go to, wait, if this happens, this go through a little library.
Right. I don't know, just a little tidbit.
No, that's
throwing out there.
Makes a lot of sense. Very good.
We covered a lot of things.
I feel like
I'm exhausted. It's like an hour long already?
No,
not even.
No.
Seems like it.
It does. I feel like we did cover a lot. So
yeah, we did.
There you go.
That's all you get for today, people.
Yeah. We're going to take a nap. No. But I feel like it was all good.
It was
Good information.
Proactive.
So, yeah.
Little reflection.
Yeah, a little.
And some being proactive.
Right. Can't hurt.
No, it can't hurt.
No. I'm going to throw this out there. But like, it still catches me every now and then. Wow. I talk to dead people. It was
Wait, you do this every day, and now you're having the revelation?
Yeah. It's like, wow, this happens.
Years.
I know.
Thousands of messages. And now it's a realization for you?
It just hits me every every time. Like, it's like, wow, that just happened, but I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. So,
well,
there you go.
Till next week, people.
Yep. Random. Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Spiritual Highways podcast with Leanne and Michelle. Catch up on past episodes at spiritualhighways.com, on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, and more.